The mountainous region of Cordillera sits upon the richest natural resources and minerals in the Philippines and the world. Its pristine surroundings, dense woodlands, watersheds, and rich soils is where millions of metric tons of gold, copper, manganese, and other minerals can be found. Its inhabitants of closely related indigenous peoples, collectively known as Igorots, enjoy Cordillera's richness, enabling them to sustain agriculture on mountainside rice terraces and to develop distinct and interweaved culture and traditions. The great majority of Cordillera's Igorots, with the non-indigenous and migrant peoples, live as peasants, small production farmers, and wage and informal workers. The Cordillera people pride themselves with a rich history of struggle against the World Bank-funded Chico dams and the timber logging project of the Cello Field during the Marcos dictatorship. And this fight lives on. The promotion and defense of indigenous people's rights, human rights, social justice, and national freedom and democracy endure as challenges and attacks intensify today.
Today's Cordillera is blanketed with more than 100 mining applications covering more than 900,000 hectares of land and more than 100 hydropower and geothermal power projects. Indigenous communities' voices are excluded as their rights to free, prior and informed consent are undermined. And in areas where mining and energy projects exist, heavy militarisation occurs to silence any form of resistance. These violations of ancestral land rights and self-determination mean ethnocide of the Igorots and the destruction of Cordillera's environment.
As we see a rise in development aggression, rights violations escalate against the Cordillera People's Alliance, the forefront alliance of people's organizations, environmental, indigenous, and human rights defenders in the Cordillera. CPA leaders and members have been listed by state agents as terrorists, insurgents, and armed rebels in malicious cases. Although these charges have been dismissed, government instrumentalities led by the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict continue to tag them as communist terrorist groups and enemies of the state.
Targeting legitimate dissent and actions to uphold ancestral land rights, human rights and environmental protection not only violates people's basic rights and freedoms, but undermines their work and endangers their life and safety. Health worker Rachel Mariano, with 4 other human rights defenders, was jailed for 1 year due to made-up charges by the military. Leader of Ifugao peasant movement, Ricardo Mayumi, was extrajudicially killed in 2017 for opposing the entry of a mini hydro power project. Before his murder, he was subjected to intense harassment, vilification, and illegal surveillance by suspected military elements. Brandon Lee, a US citizen and Ifugao peasant movement volunteer, survived an attempted murder in his home in August 2019 by suspected state agents. He was seriously wounded and went under critical health status for weeks. Before his shooting, he was hounded by threats and harassment, even in social media. We need your help. Support Defend Cordillera PH online campaigns by creating materials to show the world the Cordillera's challenges. Gather friends, families and personalities to learn about Defend Cordillera PH and the Cordillera People's Alliance work. Organise activities and actions to express your solidarity.
Bring Defend Cordillera PH to your government and state representatives, to civic organizations, churches, and international bodies. Ask them to push the Philippine government, the big companies and their funders to stop the attacks on Cordillera human rights defenders and to stop all plunderous projects in ancestral lands.
Raise funds for Defend Cordillera PH. Support the legal battle and grassroots work to amplify the defense of the community for their land, life and resources.
The Cordillera people need you. Help us to strengthen global solidarity to defend the Cordillera against plunder and state terror.